Growing up, I was exposed to violent media at a young age, which is something I'll always be grateful for. Which is to say, I've been able to indulge in the many worlds of horror for years now. From staples of the gaming industry like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, to the silver screen's really shitty adaptations of those two amazing game series. In all seriousness, however, movies like The Thing, Alien, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were formative in my understanding of the genre and why it is so important to the world at large. It's my genuine belief that fiction is our only way to experience certain sensations. Some unpleasant, but in small doses, the adrenaline is addicting. It's one reason I'm not keen on romance as a whole. That's something I actually would like to experience. On the other hand, I'd rather not have a weird hot dog oral rape monster spitting acid on me. Furthermore, I'd also like to not have to strangle my own dog to death, which is a scene that everyone cites from the subject of today's video. I Am Legend and its source material, the book of the same name. Get the tissues ready, guys. We're in for a tough one tonight. The book and the movie are fairly similar in premise, but wildly different in execution. For example, in the book, Robert Neville is a white guy, while in the movie, he's Will Smith. Furthermore, the vampires in the book work a lot different than the ones in the movie. The book sets them up less like supercharged zombies and more like your traditional Dracula esque vampires. They only die via traditional vampire slaying methods such as wooden stakes, decapitation, and sunlight. While we see in the movie that Robert can just shoot the ever living fuck out of them and they die. Also, the vampires in the movie are a result of a cancer killing vaccine, while in the book, they're born from nuclear radiation, which is also a completely different factor in the setting of the book. While in the book, things happen around the 1950s, around the when the Cold War was happening, the movie takes place in a much more modern area of time, like around 2007. Even Sam, his loyal compatriot, isn't even really present in the book. The dog in the novel enters and dies in like a chapter and a half. However, don't get it twisted. The base of the story is still the same. There's a lone man in a house in the middle of a city with monsters who want to eat him. And that isolation is key to why this story works. Humans are social creatures, and we meet these Roberts at the mental breaking point. They're lonely and desperate for companionship. To me, the book captures this isolation and desperation better, but it also shows him eventually grow numb to it and become somewhat of a nihilist. However, this transformation is only really possible due to the relatively long runtime of the book in comparison to the movie. In the movie, though, we see after the loss of Sam, he attempts suicide via blaze of glory with a car. The scene also happens in the book, but he fights his way out of the horde after having second thoughts rather than being saved by a passerby. And that, to me, is how the book really stays more true to the title of I Am Legend. Book Robert never truly meets another human being throughout the entire duration of the book. And that is why I believe the book is a better story in terms of isolation, desperation, and what these feelings can do to a human. But as one of my favorite movies, I do have to give credit where credit is due. I Am Legend's movie adaptation makes Robert a far, far, far more likable character than he is in the book. In the book, he makes casually racist remarks, has become so sex deprived that he thinks of fucking a corpse. And while we can kind of understand a lot of his feelings of isolation and the general lunacy he's driven to, it doesn't really excuse all of it. However, movie Robert genuinely comes off as a good person. He bonds with people when he meets them. He attempts to create a cure to save the world. And even in the canon movie ending, he commits suicide to save people. However, that's my main grievance with the movie itself. It's a corporate bastardized ending. Instead of going with the tonally appropriate and more faithful ending to the novel, they have him blow himself up. What was supposed to happen was Robert realizes he's killing monsters or what he thought was monsters. These monsters actually are sentient, and they've developed intelligence and rudimentary society. This is crushing because it paints him as the true legendary creature, the true monster of the whole story. In the book, this is exactly what happens, and the society wants revenge. They view him as a murderer, a monster, something that has to be ended. His situation be damned. They want the monster dead just like we want a vampire, like Dracula, out of his castle and burned at the stake.